Dogs have been our friends for thousands of years. They live alongside us, give us unconditional love, and can make great lifelong companions. Today, there are more than 400 breeds of dog, each with their own specific traits and looks. Some breeds have short noses. We call these brachycephalic dogs. These dogs are considered by many to be cute and to have big personalities. Many of these short-nosed breeds are very popular, making many owners very happy. The way that many of them snore and pant and struggle to breathe might seem funny to many people, but it's not funny for the dogs. These dogs aren't healthy or happy. They are suffering and struggling to breathe throughout their lives. Many need surgery to survive, and sometimes even die from brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome, or BOAS. It is cruel to continue deliberately breeding dogs affected by BOAS, who often live lives of suffering and constant breathlessness.
Brachycephaly means the shape of the skull is shorter than usual. Because of exaggerated anatomical features, many short-nosed dogs suffer from devastating medical conditions. It can mean narrow nostrils in French bulldogs, compressed and thickened nasal sinuses, long soft palates in pugs, and narrow windpipe in English bulldogs. All of the structures are still there, but the box becomes much smaller. The structures simply do not fit anymore. The shape of the eyes and extreme skin folds can cause eye problems. A short muscle can cause dental disease due to teeth overcrowding. These dogs may also have chronic ear infections from tight ear canals, chronic vomiting from labor breathing, and difficulty giving birth because of the large heads. But most serious is their difficulty to breathe. This we call BOAS, the brachycephaly obstructive airway syndrome.
We are, as veterinarians, well suited to recognize dogs with a compromised breathing function that makes it possible to exclude them from breeding. But to implement a wise breeding selection of these dogs, that is not enough. There must also be an urge to select dogs with less exaggerated anatomical features that may result in compromised or impaired breathing function. To achieve that, we must all work together, not only veterinarians, but all the other stakeholders, the breeders, the show judges, and the media, to implement or influence the perception of a dog of these breeds with less exaggerated anatomical features, so that they will have a happy life together.
We need to collaboratively influence the perception of a healthy dog versus one with exaggerated anatomical features. Selection of healthy breeding dogs with less exaggerated features is needed so that this disorder is not passed on to offspring.
Dogs should be able to run outside without laboured breathing, eat without gasping for breath, and sleep without obstructing. We can improve the life of the individual dog with surgery, but this is not the solution. The answer lies with health-focused breeding. Less extreme is better when it comes to exaggerated conformation in dogs. This is a pug, and with a camera we are looking at the entrance of the windpipe. You can see that the entrance is nearly fully blocked, and the dog needs to work really hard to get the air in. This is a French bulldog, and we are looking at his nose. We can see that his nostrils are almost completely blocked. This dog can hardly get air in. Therefore, to get air in, it may have to keep its mouth open, which is not normal for any dog. This is a radiograph of a bulldog's windpipe, and that of a similarly sized dog. To the left, you see what a windpipe should look like, and to the right, you see a very narrowed windpipe. This is the case in some bulldogs and other short-nosed breeds. You can imagine that it's very difficult to get air into your lungs through a pipe that is too narrow.
Innate health describes whether dogs are born with the physical capacity to be healthy. Sadly, however, many short-nosed dogs are born with very poor innate health due to their extreme physical features, such as shortened nose, bulging eyes, large head, folded skin, and lack of tail. Average lifespan is a widely used and reliable summary measure of overall lifetime health. However, research shows that popular short-nosed dog breeds such as French Bulldogs, Pugs, and English Bulldogs on average die before 8 years of age, living just 2/3 of the typical life of other breeds such as Labrador Retrievers or crossbreeds, which can expect to live up to around 12 years. BOAS and breathing problems in general are more than 30 times more likely in French Bulldogs, English Bulldogs, and Pugs than in dogs from other breeds. Overweight and obesity are recognized to worsen BOAS across all breeds, contributing to approximately 50% of the variation. Owners can improve their short-nosed dog's health by keeping them slim and fit.
The dramatically rising popularity of certain short-nosed breeds has now turned brachycephaly and BOAS into a canine international welfare crisis. Over the past 20 years, the desire to own French Bulldogs has gone viral worldwide, with French Bulldogs now the most common breed purchased in many countries, even surpassing the Labrador Retriever. English Bulldogs and Pugs have similarly risen in popularity.
The issue is so driven by human demand. The extreme traits in these dogs came about through selection aimed at what is by many people seen as a charming look. These breeds did not historically have extremely short noses, but these have evolved through selection over numerous generations. Traditionally, the effort to select these dogs has been led by kennel clubs that issued pedigrees based on performance at dog shows. However, now a large part of the breeding takes place outside the kennel clubs. For example, in Denmark, my own country, currently only 12% of French Bulldogs acquired have a pedigree. So it is necessary to address the potential dog owners who create the demand for these dogs. Unfortunately, this has led to a situation in which these dogs suffer from their conformation. In my view, it is urgent to try to redress these issues. It is cruel and unethical to continue breeding dogs who cannot breathe normally.
We need to change our behaviour and put the health and welfare of the dogs first, no matter how great or cute they are. Not for us, but for them.
BOAS is hugely under-recognised by owners and veterinary professionals. Many see these problems as normal for the breed, finding the snuffling and snorting breathing sounds cute rather than concerning, and exercise challenges convenient for those that don't wish to walk their dogs too much. Studies show that owners of short-nosed dogs are highly attached to them and will buy them again, even if their previous dog had health issues related to its looks. It's vital that people understand if their dogs are suffering and don't unintentionally celebrate their struggles.
Selective breeding has created a short-nosed dog whose health has been compromised in search of cuteness. Selective breeding can also return these breeds to a more moderate anatomical conformation and also to normal breathing. Some of the mutations associated with the shortened face are now fixed in the mutant form in each breed. Outcrossing to a different breed can revert these mutations. But we know that some members of each brachycephalic breed do not have BOAS, showing that these mutations are not by themselves enough to confer the disease syndrome. Anatomical benchmarks, such as muscle length measurements, have not been able to separate BOAS-affected dogs from unaffected dogs adequately. But studies do show that there is a correlation between more extreme traits and BOAS. Therefore, whilst continuing research towards a better genetic understanding of the disease, we need to select away from exaggerated anatomical features. We need to take into account that each dog has several different anatomical components contributing to their disease state, and that these components also vary between breeds. Breeders must select for more moderate muzzle length and nasal openings. However, an even more direct way to select against inheritance of BOAS is to measure the laboured breathing that accompanies it directly. BOAS is a disease of airway function, and it can be tested most effectively using functional traits.
Respiratory function tests have now been introduced to many countries around the world. They are based on a veterinary examination of a dog at rest and again after a brisk walk, and they can differentiate dogs that can breathe normally from those who are compromised. We need breeders to engage in health-focused breeding and for the public to look for results of these tests. If the argument is, why can't I breed my short-nosed dog? Part of the answer will be because the functional test shows they cannot breathe properly with moderate exercise. If breeders do not have the access to these tests, then they need to realistically assess whether their prospective breeding dogs can perform a brisk walk for several minutes without labouring to breathe or having noisy breathing caused by obstruction. If affected dogs are not used for breeding, then the breathing function of the next generation of dogs will improve. This will require losing a portion of the breed populations from breeding, but these are populous breeds, and the loss of BOAS-affected dogs from breeding will improve the overall health of the breeds.
We veterinarians see short-nosed dogs presenting with the symptoms of a gasping for breath in a heat stroke. In many cases, we are unable to save them, and this is a significant animal welfare issue and can be avoided by selective and ethical breeding. Many dog breed clubs around the world recognize the issue with a brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome and have embraced respiratory function testing for all short-faced breeds like Pug, English and French Bulldogs, and Pekingese. By educating the breeders and owners, we can improve the respiratory health of these short-nosed breed dogs and allow them to live a comfortable life.
It is clear that this is a complex issue. It involves many stakeholders, like international and national kennel clubs, breed clubs, as well as judges at dog shows, veterinarians, dog owners and future dog owners, trades, governments and authorities, animal welfare organisations, and the media. In most countries, the vast majority of dogs are not registered with a kennel club and are legally and illegally traded over long distance, including crossing borders. Therefore, simply banning a breed will not solve the issue.
Despite attention, awareness, and actions to counteract them, we are still faced with these problems, and now in even greater numbers because of a dramatic rise in the popularity of the type of dogs at risk. We should realize that there is no easy and quick solution by one stakeholder in just one country. If that would have been possible, we would have solved it by now. We should acknowledge the complexity and accept that the only sustainable way forward is if all stakeholders work together, internationally and act nationally, taking social, economic, and cultural differences into account. Only together can we make this work to the benefit of short-nosed dogs whose lives depend on us.
Breeders did not purposefully select for dogs with impaired breathing, but unintentionally, they did create this serious health issue. Breeders should select breeding stock with less exaggerated features and perform pre-breeding genetic health assessments, including respiratory function tests. This will reduce the frequency of BOAS, as well as other hereditary diseases, and allow for healthier dogs. If looking to acquire a short-nosed dog, prospective owners must ask breeders what actions they have taken to prevent BOAS in their puppies. The parents and puppies should breathe without obvious noise, have open nostrils, and a functional muzzle. No dog should snore, and all should be able to run and breathe freely. Selective breeding can return these breeds to more moderate anatomical conformation and normal breathing. Health-focused breeding produces healthy puppies. These dogs are our companions, and their lives depend on us. We can't let them down. All dogs deserve to live healthy lives.
The World Small Animal Veterinary Association has produced this video to bring attention to the public on the devastating effects of brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome seen in short-nosed dogs. We all love our dogs, but sometimes we need to stop and recognize the serious health issues that has been created and work together to restore the health to these breeds.
We might not always share the same opinion, and we might look at it from different angles. But let's overcome our personal differences, because if we don't, it is the dogs that suffer for it in the end. Let's join forces and work together to reverse an unfortunate development towards a healthier and happier future for all dogs.